Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, text 24. Yontah sukhontararamas tadhantarjyotirevayah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. So if you see the previous verse, Krishna explained that a Buddha, an intelligent person, he does not delight in the sense gratificatory pleasures, and the urges of the senses he tolerates. And how does he get the strength to tolerate? This verse explains that. One gets to one gets the strength to tolerate these sensual urges by focusing his happiness, his activities and goals inwards. Antaha sukhaha. That means his happiness is inwards, not from his senses, is within. Yaha antaha sukho antararamaha. One who is relishing antaha sukhaha, happiness within, antararamaha, active within, tadha antarjyotihi eva, who is aiming within, saha yogi brahma nirvanam, brahma bhuto adhigacchati. That person eventually can attain brahma nirvanam and brahma bhuta stage. He is liberated and he ultimately attains the supreme. So Prabhupada translates this as one whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within, and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? So there has to be happiness relishing from within. That is why he can tolerate the urges of the senses without. So one who is always engaging, one who is always happy within, he doesn't need to endeavor for extraneous endeavors to find happiness from external engagements. Why can't we, why we cannot engage in Krishna consciousness 24 by 7? Because currently our sources of happiness lie in external engagements. We seek some rasa from such engagements, from our senses. And we get conditioned by Maya to think that to engage in external engagements is happiness. That is why we can only engage in Krishna consciousness for a certain time in the day. Because we still have hope and we still aspire to get happiness from external engagements. That is why in sadhana stage, we are given a regime. Whether you like it or not, you have to chant the holy name. You have to do this activity. You have to wake up at this time. Because this sadhana is a pushing process. Just like this car, when it is broken down, in India they do that. So you get down and start to push it, and the driver starts to give the gas, and suddenly the car kick starts, and you all hop in, and the car is running. So sadhana is a pushing process. But if you put focused effort, that will happen very soon. And Krishna helps those who help themselves. And once you start to relish that internal happiness, then you don't care for any external happiness. You people usually they find amusing how a devotee can be without television or a cable connection or streaming channels or parties or not going to restaurants for eating different kinds of food. So there I used to remember way back there used to be an advertisement for a soft drink. So this young man is sitting and drinking the soft drink happily without care. And then this his friend of his comes. They are sitting in some cafeteria or something. And his friend comes and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm just chilling out." And he says, "Oh, man, you have to go to work and don't waste time." And he says, "Why I have to go to work?" "So you can earn money." "Why I have to earn money?" "So you can get a good wife, good family, good house." "And then do what?" "And then, you progress in your career for what? You become good in the eyes of people. And then do what? Ultimately you become CEO. And then do what? And then you can sit, relax, and you don't have to do anything." And then he asks, "What am I doing now?" So that's the ad for, that soft drink. You chill out, and of course, it's meant for promoting that soft drink. But the point is, one who is realized in Krishna consciousness, he finds these external endeavors people do for all kinds of sense gratificatory returns. He finds it extraneous, unnecessary, because he is already active and he is enjoying, relishing within. He doesn't go after those illusory. The nature of external engagement is illusory. Like you are trying to chase a shadow. Like somebody does this, the store, they do this kind of different caricatures from projecting a light, and you're making motion with your hands, and these different animals are coming out in front with different shapes, and the child will think, "Oh, here is a tiger, here is a cow, I want to catch it." He tries to go and catch it, but it's just a shadow. So this is shadow enjoyment. The enjoyment of the senses is shadow enjoyment. You don't really get the substance because it is a shadow, it is reflection. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Urdhvamulam adhah shakam ashwadham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavit. The real tree is in the spiritual world, but that is reflected in this material world upside down, just like a tree on the bank of a lake. It reflects upside down when you are seeing from a far distance. You see the tree and you also see the reflection, and it is upside down. And that is the tree of this material world. It is a reflection. The real substance is in the spiritual world. So, this person is active within. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this personality, a woman called Pingala. She happened to be a prostitute by profession, and she would stand and attract people and get a lot of wealth. So one day she was thinking of gaining a lot of wealth, and she was standing and she's not getting what she want. She's not going anywhere. No business is being done. And then she becomes morose. She had a lot of hope of making a lot of money, and then she becomes crestfallen and disappointed, anguished that her plans have been broken. And suddenly she has a realization: why am I so morose? That I'm thinking that somebody else will give me happiness, some external source will give me happiness. Whereas my happiness is already within, in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's always accompanying me. And then in that realization, she starts to compose prayers and pray to the Lord, which are documented in Srimad Bhagavatam beautifully. And then she says one of these prayers, Santam Samipe Ramanam Ratipradam Vittapradam Nityamimam Vihaya Akamadam Dukkha Bhayadhishoka Mohapradam Tuchamaham Bhajegna. So, what it basically means is, I'm such a fool that I have given up the service of the person who is eternally situated within my heart. He is actually most dear to me. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the real bestower of real love and happiness. He is the actual source of prosperity. People look for prosperity, love. He is the source of all of it. And He is within my own heart. And I have completely neglected Him. And instead, I have ignorantly served insignificant men who can never satisfy my real desires and who have simply brought me unhappiness, who have brought me fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. So that is our plight, isn't it? All of us. We seek happiness from external sources and we go through this hankering, hankering, hankering. I'll get happiness from that when I become that, or when I acquire that, when I achieve that. And then when we end up not achieving, we lament. Or even when we achieve, we lament. Oh, why did I get this? Why did I buy this? I could have bought something else. Why did I waste my time to get this? I could have spent my time somewhere else. So we are eternally in this pendulum of moving towards hankering or coming back to lamentation. So Pingala thought the same. And then she was realized. She was proud of her abilities, just like we are all proud of our own abilities materially, but that won't give us happiness. And Pingala laments that she did not try to please the Supreme Lord by loving service. In Srimad Bhagavatam again, it is explained how Krishna is so beautiful. We find these external things beautiful, But it's actually beautiful because Krishna has created it. Anything we see a spark of splendor, beautiful, powerful, attractive, it comes from a spark of the splendor of Krishna. Vibhutimat sattvam, Srimad Urjita Evava, Tattad Evavagachatvam, Mama Tejomsha Shambhavam. Mama Tejomsha, they are all sparks of my splendor. Just imagine how beautiful Krishna must be. Krishna is. Yasyananam Makarakundala Charukarna, Bhrajat Kapola Shubhagam Savilasahasam, Nityotsavam Natatrupur Drishibih Pribantyo, Naryo Narascha Mudita Kupita Nimescha. So Krishna is described, how beautiful he is described. His Krishna's face is decorated with ornaments. His ears have earrings resembling sharks. Makara Kundala. His ears are beautiful. Charu Karna. Bhrajat Kapola Shubhagam. His cheeks are brilliant. His forehead is shining and auspicious. Savilasa Hasam. He's smiling, attractive to everyone. Nityotsavam. Whoever sees Lord Krishna, it's a festival. It's not ordinary seeing. Nityotsavam. His whole appearance is fully satisfying for everyone to see. And these, it is said in Bhagavatam that these devotees, they feel angered at Lord Brahma for creating these eyelids which are blinking and restricting, interrupting their looking at Krishna. The gopis, the gopas. That's how beautiful Krishna is. And Rupa Goswami, very poetically, he says, if you have any desire to enjoy materially, to enjoy the company of your friends and society in this material world, then don't go to this Keshi Ghat and don't look at this form of Krishna who is standing with his threefold bending form, who is known as Govinda. His eyes are very enchanting. He's playing upon his flute and wearing a peacock feather on his head. And his whole body is illuminated by this moonlight in the sky. Don't go there because Bandhu Sangesti Ranga, whatever attachment you have, you will forget all of that. Govindakhyam Haritanumita Keshi Tirthopakante Ma Prekshishtaha Tavayedi Sakhe Bandhu Sangesti Ranga. If you have attachment to material enjoyment, don't look at him. How poetically he describes. Mother Yashoda, she is serving Krishna and she could not wait and when Krishna comes back from pasturing grounds. Very anxious for her son to come back, as were these gopis. Both the elderly gopis and the young gopis, they are always waiting when Krishna will come back from herding the cows and the calves. And so these gopis, they would climb to this Vrindavan's houses, top of these houses, so they could see Krishna when he is coming, as soon as possible when he is about to return. So Mother Yashoda, she would have the tallest of the beautiful young gopis climb up to see when he would arrive. And there is a prayer in Srimad Bhagavatam in this connection. Vatsalo Vrajagavam Yadagadro Vandyamana Charana Pativruddhai Krishna Godhanamupohya Dinante Gita Venur Anugedita Kirtihi Utsavam Shramaruchapi Drishinam Unnayan Kurarajas Churitasrak Ditsayaiti Suhrud Asisha Esha Devaki Jathara Bhur Uduraja. Out of great affection for the cows of Vraja, Krishna became the lifter of Govardhana hill. At the end of the day, having rounded up all his own cows, he plays a song on his flute, while exalted demigods standing along the path worship his lotus feet, and the cowherd boys accompanying him chant his glories. His garland is powdered by the dust raised by the cow's hoofs, and his beauty, enhanced by his fatigue, creates an ecstatic festival for everyone's eyes. Eager to fulfill his friend's desires, Krishna is the moon arisen from the womb of Mother Yashoda. So, this is what is lying for those who want to embrace Krishna consciousness. And Krishna is there fully in his holy name. Krishna Purna Vapushe Namo Namaha. And the holy name is not different from Krishna. It is more merciful than Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. While we may have to wait to see Krishna face to face until we become perfect, we can experience Krishna completely by hearing the holy name. All we need is faith and chant and hear attentively. And it removes our forgetfulness of Krishna. It reawakens our original relation with Krishna. Just like this alarm sound. You may be dreaming something or having a nightmare, but the alarm suddenly rings and you're woken up to reality. Oh, thank God, it's not true. So the Hare Krishna mantra wakes up to our eternal reality, our eternal connection with Krishna. So there was one devotee, Westerner, who joined the Krishna consciousness movement, and they were from France, I believe. They were interested in, during Prabhupada's times, they were interested in the conception of God, and they were studying different civilizations. But they were disappointed with all that they found. Basically, they were frustrated with material life. They were looking for something higher. So they met devotees who were distributing books and chanting the holy name. And because they were seeking, they asked about the devotees what this is all about. And they said, "Oh, actually, our spiritual master is in London. Why don't you go and meet him?" So then they all went from Paris to London to meet Srila Prabhupada. So she and other friends. And they had a very powerful experience. They saw Prabhupada doing kirtan with his moist eyes, and they could see that he is relishing something higher and nothing mundane. And he gave a beautiful class, and they were all very impressed. And they were thinking whether, oh, maybe he is our spiritual master. And then one Indian guest was there in that lecture, and he asked a question. Oh, he exclaimed basically, "Oh, God has no form. Krishna is not God." And then Prabhupada became red with anger and began to scream at him and chastised him and explained how Krishna is God, he's a person. And then they somewhat became little taken aback. How can a sadhu become angry? And then, they understood later that in the spiritual life, it's not that you cannot become angry, as we discussed yesterday. A pure devotee also shows anger, but for a right purpose. Anger has its use when it is used for the right purpose. And only a devotee, a pure devotee, can exhibit all these traits, all these qualities to the right degree. So they understood that, and as they spent more time in association with Prabhupada, they became more convinced that Krishna consciousness is what they were looking for, and Srila Prabhupada is their spiritual master. And they eventually became initiated, and Prabhupada left from that place, and they were feeling so bad because of his physical absence. And they realized that service in Krishna and thinking of the spiritual master in by serving his instruction is more higher. And she was thinking that I want to do something great for Prabhupada, and whatever he asks me, make me ask something, make him ask me something difficult, and let me say yes. She was thinking like that. And so at that time, Prabhupada had gone to Russia and started the seed of Krishna consciousness, but very difficult in those days. And there was one boy, he became Krishna conscious, and Prabhupada, he came back and she said, "Oh, to this girl, you're not married yet?" And he actually proposed that, why don't you marry this boy, and you spread Krishna consciousness in Russia. The boy's name is Anatoly. And then she immediately remembered her prayer and said, yes, jumped on it. And then they all went, and she was saying how they were, in Russia, they were trying to expand Krishna consciousness, which is very difficult, and they had to do it in so many ways which are not open. And she was very happy and excited, and they did all of that to serve Prabhupada. And so, what she was saying that she was like in her childhood, she was enjoying all of this material life, but once she tasted Krishna consciousness, all of that seemed, even in the midst of her difficult endeavors in Russia, she always felt at home and always felt peaceful within, because she was connected to Krishna and was doing his service for his pure devotee. And she never felt separate. I mean, she never felt the absence of any sensual pleasures, because she was always feeling that connection within. In spite of externally, one may find, oh, what is this? She's born in such affluence and sense enjoyment. Now she's doing something. So this is this is what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, that Gurunapi dukkhena na vichalyate. One who gets this higher happiness, he's not shaken in the midst of greatest difficulties. So that's what here Krishna says here as well. Yo antah sukhontararamaha. If you aim for happiness within, Krishna reveals, Prabhupada uses that word, factual experience in the purport. He says, a liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. It's not made up. Krishna actually reveals, Antar Jyotihi. Krishna lights up, Krishna reveals, Krishna releases that happiness and revelation and knowledge. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Sadar Pranam, our glorious still of birth. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class again. Today's topic is about happiness from within. Uh, when we are into Krishna consciousness and we are practicing, still, I mean, at least me, my part, when I'm saying, um, we are working, or we tend to do color our hair, or we use a lipstick or something, uh, to be in meetings or something. Still we are devotees, but sometimes feel, why do I need to do all this just to appear in the public? But again, so that means, am I still enjoying the external happiness that you're talking about? Or
Yeah, so there everybody needs to make progress. We all have different anarthas, contaminations coming from previous background, previous habits, and we need certain kind of environment. We need certain kind of conditions for us to function properly. Even because we are not fully Krishna conscious, we need these material things to go in our favor, whether it is dyeing our hair or wearing nice clothes to look good, and having a decent house or kind of a car. So we need all of this to for us to remain little materially satisfied, so that we can function in Krishna consciousness. But eventually, when we progress, Krishna will reveal what we need to do to get rid of all of this. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Sanatan Goswami came, he was wearing a blanket, a brand new blanket, and he was looking at that blanket top to bottom. And then Sanatan Goswami understood that, oh, for a mendicant, it's not proper to wear this kind of a expensive. It was a gift given by his nephew, not nephew, his brother-in-law, I believe, Srikanta Sen. So, and then Sanatan Goswami went and he exchanged a torn quilt with a mendicant in the bank of Ganges, and then he got that torn quilt, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked very satisfied. But then, for the sake of preaching, sometimes you may need to accept certain things. Like Prabhupada, one time I remember there was one devotee, Mukunda. He later became Mukunda Goswami. He was one of those devotees who went to England to preach, to spread Krishna consciousness. So one time he was wearing some clothes which are not proper, and Prabhupada actually corrected him. He said, in England, first you dress and then address. That means you first dress properly before you address people, so that they can make a good connect with you. So he actually went and purchased a suit and wore that, and he came to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada became very pleased that he understood his instruction. So, for the sake of preaching, you may need to accept sometimes certain things, so that at least you don't come across as somebody who is out of sync with their nature, with their environment. So you can mingle along and you don't look so odd. So that is also an aspect of preaching, but there is also aspect of our own personal situation where we need certain things to for us to function properly. And eventually, as I said, Krishna will adjust all of that, as long as our motive is Krishna consciousness and serving the spiritual master. These external things will gradually fade away, and we eventually we become pure.
thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanand.